Yo, what up, a-holes? It's your boy, Erik Levi, coming at you today with a new video. Today, I want to talk about a new study that came out. It is titled, More Electronic Device Use Tied to More Sugar and Caffeine in Teens. So, this study goes through some, pretty interesting research, which ties the use of screen time or the practice, the habits of screen time to more sugar and caffeine consumption in teens. Now, it's not that I'm particularly shocked at the results of this study, but I will say that when we talk about obesity in this country, specifically childhood obesity in this country, I think we should be trying to do everything we can to lower that number, because that number is ridiculous. If you haven't noticed, there is an excessive amount of obese children out there in the world today, or out there in the United States today. I believe the number is close to 1 in 5 children is obese, which is not just bad for vanity's sake, but it's bad for the future of our healthcare system, because these kids are going to need a lot of healthcare. And what we should be doing is we should not be encouraging children to do anything other than get outside and run their fat asses around. Because I know that's what I had to do when I was a kid. If it was any hint of daylight, I was outside, and it wasn't by choice. This was because my mom literally chased me outside the door with a broom. Get outside, go play, and somehow I never had any childhood chronic diseases. Somehow I never was obese. I got a little chunky, but the problem is today there's so many ways for kids to not do that. You know, we got YouTube, we got Netflix, we got video games, we got the phones, we got the iPads, we got the iWatches, we got it all. Kids have so much access to so much screen time, and I think we'd be okay if we didn't know about, research like this that directly ties screen time to excessive sugar and caffeine consumption. So let's go through the article. Do young teens... Let's check this out. It is a concern. Okay. Do young teens who spend more time with TV and electronic devices drink more sugared or caffeinated drinks than others? Yes, they do, says a study of U.S. teens led by McMaster University researchers. It's a concern because many exceed recommended levels of both sugar and caffeine, says pediatrician Dr. Catherine Morrison, who led the research together with colleagues at McMaster, California State University, Fullerton. Right. So the fact that we now know, it's not that we now know, it's that we have proof in writing. So if anybody wants to debate this, there it is. There's the science that you so badly need. It's not like you can't just go to a person's home and see the fact that a kid is sitting there in front of their TV eating a bowl of Cocoa Puffs and simultaneously looking at their phone, text messaging or playing a video game or whatever it is. I know this is how I roll sometimes too. I like to sit there in front of the screen and, eat a nice bowl of banana ice cream or, a nice good piece of fruit. But the thing is, kids aren't doing that. They're drinking soda, they're eating candy, and they're drinking caffeine. What the hell are we doing? Why does a kid need caffeine? What is wrong with your adrenals, children? You're a kid. You should have energy. You're not a crusty old man like me. Old people in their 30s and 40s, we need caffeine. Right? We shouldn't need caffeine, but we do, because we're so beaten down by life that the only thing that gives us joy is a sip of a pumpkin spice latte from Starbucks that only comes around for 45 days a year. And when it's gone, we fall into a thing called seasonal affective disorder. No, not because there's not much sun around, but because we don't have enough pumpkin spice to juice up our cortisol to get us up in the morning. It's a huge problem. And if you're in your teens, what the hell are you doing? You should have all your hormones raging. You should have all your cortisol raging. You should be able to run around the block 800 times before you even get winded. But no, we have these kids who have been babied, who have been coddled, who have been given every opportunity to look at the screen they have over the years. And, is it not child abuse to put a child in front of a screen and not give them popcorn and not give them Coca-Cola and not give them a big iced mocha latte from Starbucks with extra whipped cream? I think that would be considered child abuse if you didn't do that. So what we have to do is we have to dial this back, man. We got to dial this back. Like, as parents, we have to instill in our children this value of just getting out of the house. Get out of the house. Stop snacking. Stop eating potato chips, And it's not because like I think that I come from a better generation of people. In fact, I come from a pretty shitty generation of people. But what I know is that when research like this comes out, that the next step are chronic health problems for these kids. And as me as a taxpayer, as you as a taxpayer, you know that as we keep creeping closer and closer to more and more Medicare for more and more people, that's going to keep coming out of your paycheck. So you can go to work and you can work all these long hours, and we're going to need more of that money to keep pouring into a medical system to keep paying for people who have been obese since they were 13, 14, 15 years old. Why? Because they had to sit in front of a screen and, chomp down sugary, highly processed foods. Addressing this through counseling, there is a trend towards reduced energy drink and soda consumption between 2013 and 2016, which is our latest data. But greater electronic device use, particularly TV, is linked to more consumption of added sugar and caffeine among adolescents, said Dr. Catherine Morrison. Addressing this through counseling or health promotion could potentially help. Yes, watch the Holistic A-Hole YouTube channel. Morrison is a professor of pediatrics at McMaster, co-director, blah, 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 who cares? Both sugar-sweetened and artificially sweetened drinks are linked to obesity, diabetes, dental cavities, and poor sleep. Excess caffeine found in energy drinks is associated with headaches, higher blood pressure, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and chest pain, as well as poor sleep. Consequently, both the American Academy of Pediatrics and the Canadian Pediatric Society urged physicians to educate youth and families about the risks and to recommend against these drinks. Man, so did we call it or did we call it? Did we call it or did we call it? All of those problems, excessive caffeine found in energy drinks is associated with headaches, higher blood pressure, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and chest pain, as well as poor sleep. Oh, all things people go to the doctor for when they're in their 20s, when they're in their 30s. These are serious problems that people are, not only going to see their doctor for, not only suffering with, but also using pharmaceutical medication, which of course, as we know, comes with its own set of side effects, which of course will lead to a whole host of new problems. So basically what we're doing is we're just setting kids up to fail. We're just setting kids up for a lifetime of chronic disease, misery, and suffering. And, the problem is not just the fact that you're suffering, but it's the fact that your quality of life is just going to be complete garbage when you suffer with these problems. Along with the physical effects, what do you have to do? You got to have health insurance. And if there's no Medicare for all, you got to get a job you hate. You got to work a job you hate and go to it every single day just so that you can have that health insurance. Because as we know, as the demand for healthcare goes up, so are the prices of everything. So health insurance is going to almost be 100% required for these kids. Again, 1 out of 5 children is already obese. That doesn't account for the kids that are also overweight. And according to this study, 27% of teens exceed the recommended sugar intake, and 21% exceed the recommended caffeine from soda and energy drink. Wow. 1 in 5, almost 1 in 3 kids recommend excessive recommended sugar intake. We know sugar highly associated with obesity, diabetes, heart disease, cancer. Sugar literally makes cancer grow in petri dishes. We know this. Why are we not stopping it? Why are parents allowing their kids to do this? Right? I know it's easier said than done, but for crying out loud, you have to control the problem. We have to control it's a problem. If they're researching it, if they're putting, money into studies like this to figure out that 27% of teens exceed the recommended sugar intake. Now, I'm sure that's not a new number. I'm sure that number's been around for a while, but that number is not getting smaller. That's the problem. The number was probably very high when I was a kid. But I don't think it was 27%, I think there were kids who didn't necessarily eat right, but they just didn't necessarily eat bad so much. And the real kicker for, the modern time is that because it's associated with screen time, we know the more screen time you have, the more you're going to eat garbage. And there just happens to be a ton of available screen time. So I guess the moral of this story is shut down your Netflix account and see what happens. Block your kids off YouTube and see what happens. I don't know. Is it going to make things worse? Is it going to make things better? Who knows? Kick your kid out of the house and make him go run. Make him go play sports. Make him go play chess. Make him read a book. I know these are extraordinary measures that you're asking your children to do, but for crying out loud, our healthcare system needs it. But I would love to know what you think down in the comments. Let me know. Do you have kids, or do you know people? Do you know kids? Are you a kid and you see their sugar and caffeine intake skyrocketing out of control? Do you see the effects it's having on the kids, or is this just complete nonsense? Please let me know what you think down in the comments. Also, if you haven't done this yet, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Give it a big thumbs up. Go ahead and like the video. And if you haven't done this yet, head on over to your favorite podcast player and subscribe to the Holistic A-Hole Podcast. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.